Did you clean out his driveway?
No, I went by like at 6 in the morning Saturday and it was already done.
We have to do these separately?
No, we don't go right through.
The cops tagged your door, the driveway wasn't done.
Well, the driveway got done. Walked it.
On me.
Snow removal guy was coming back from San Antonio.
Oh, it must have been Ritter tagged the sidewalk then. Be a citation.
That'd be just what I need. The most anal guy in town that, didn't walk us before it quit snowing. That'd be good.
Regular meeting of the Clear Lake City Council of Monday, January 17, 2022 shall come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. To approve the agenda, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mark. We approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. To the consent agenda, you have a copy of the minutes of January 3rd, which was a regular meeting. You have a copy of the minutes of two workshops, one on January 5th and one on January 7th of 2022. We have Resolution 2206, a resolution rescinding Resolutions 2178 and 2203. We have Resolution 2207, a resolution setting a public hearing on the proposal to sell real property belonging to the city of Clear Lake, and we need approval of the bills and claims, of which you also have a copy.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Gary, seconded by Mark, that we approve the consent agenda. Is there a discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. Now is the time and place for any citizen in the audience who wishes to address the council on any issue or item that is not on the agenda. Please approach the podium, state your name first and last, and give your address so the clerk can properly enter in the minutes. This is not a discussion time nor a question and answer time, and you have 3 to 5 minutes. None appearing, we'll move along to unfinished business, of which we have none. We'll go directly to 6A, new business, South 15th Street Urban Renewal Inclusive Park and Playground Project. Excuse me, review, Mr. Flory.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. In your packet, just run through these items real quick with you. You have the gold sheet, which is a resolution taking additional action on a proposal to enter into a general obligation urban renewal loan agreement. If you recall, at our previous at the January 3rd council meeting, council had set the date for the public hearing for tonight on the proposal to ultimately enter into a general obligation loan agreement for the urban renewal project on South 15th Street. Involves the demolition of the former county secondary road department buildings, as well as construction of a new inclusive playground and park project there at that location. That public hearing is this evening, January 17th, here 6 p.m. Notice of that hearing was published January 5th in the newspaper as required by law. Yeah, that's not a 420, it's a 10-20 day notice on that one, so a little bit longer time frame on that. You've got, so on the back side of that resolution is a copy of the public notice that was published by the clerk in the newspaper. And I have not received any written communication prior to the public hearing on this. So this is generally what we refer to as a reverse referendum public hearing opportunity. So under the Iowa Code, we're limited to being only able to issue not to exceed $700,000 in general obligation bonds for a project. of this nature, unless it's in an urban renewal area, in which case we can exceed that. However, it is still subject to what's called the reverse referendum procedure, which means that if we were to receive a petition prior to the date of the public hearing, then we would have to have an election on that proposition to issue those bonds for this project. So again, we're looking at a total project budget somewhere around 1.8, 1.9 million for the inclusive playground and park development project. So 1.3 million of that would come from the subsequent bond issue that we're talking about here, and then the remainder would come from general fund cash reserves. So that's probably all I have prior to the public hearing on that resolution. The blue sheet in your packet, we have Chip Schultz tonight on the phone with Northland Securities. Chip's down in Des Moines. You all know him quite well. Helped us out many times on numerous placement issues that we've had here. So the blue sheet is an engagement letter with Northland Securities to serve as placement agent for this. And of course, so we've done these many times before as well. So the placement agent letter basically complies with federal security regulations related to Northland's role as serving as placement agent on this, and approval of the letter establishes the necessary engagement pursuant to the SEC rules and Municipal Security Rulemaking Board procedures. So the scope of the services that Northland would provide for this project very similar to all the other issues that are direct placement issues. So we're not talking about a public sale with this, but like the last couple of offerings we've had where they've been a direct placement with one of our local lending institutions. And again, the lending institutions have already indicated that they're interested in this upcoming placement by the city. So again, we would proceed with the direct sale and placement to probably one of the local banks. But again, Northland would work to advise the city regarding similar things in the past issues such as structure, timing, terms, those kinds of things. Assist with the preparation and placement of the term sheet, and then prepare post-sale reports for municipal security filing purposes, et cetera. So the fee is not part of this engagement letter. The fee would be negotiated based on a percent of the par value once the bonds are once we have a better idea of what the structure is that we're looking at in terms of the maturity and that. So we'll negotiate the fee after the engagement letter. And probably also, I would suspect we'll have another engagement letter at probably the next meeting with the under the legal team for the issuance as well. So I don't have anything further on that. As I mentioned, Chip is on the phone. If anyone has anything, or if Chip, if you want to add to anything there on the engagement letter, serve again as the placement agent for this issue. I'd welcome your comments.
Chip, any comments?
No, I appreciate being able to be with the council and the city staff and the mayor this evening. We'll go through a competitive process in terms of trying to help the city achieve the lowest borrowing cost on the financing, and we're in the process of working through a number of different payment structures. The interest rate environment, though not quite as favorable as it was in late 2020 and early 2021 when we worked on those, for example, the wellness center financing. It is still quite a favorable interest rate environment, and we're still, I think we'd be looking at an interest rate in rough, broad terms, maybe just over 1%, perhaps 1% to 1.25% in the current rate environment. And I'm trying to be a little bit conservative with those numbers. And but that's really it. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have with those comments.
Council, any questions for Chip? Thank you very much, Chip. Appreciate your being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Any questions for Scott, Council? Okay. Now is the time and place then for the public hearing with regard to the South 15th Street Urban Renewal, the Inclusive Park and Playground Project. If there's anyone in the audience that wishes to address the council on any issue or concern with regard to that, please approach the podium, state your name first and last, and give your address so the clerk can properly enter in the minutes. None appearing, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Bennett, second by Mark, that we close the public hearing on the South 15th Street Urban Renewal Project. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. And now I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2208. This is a resolution taking additional action on a proposal to enter into a general obligation urban renewal loan agreement. Motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Gary, seconded by Dana, that we approve the Resolution 2208. Is there any discussion? Mark?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
And Dana?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Resolution 2208 is duly adopted. And now I'll entertain a motion to approve the engage agreement with Northland Securities. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Mark, that we approve the engagement agreement with Northland Securities. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. Move to 6B, East Main Avenue Street Reconstruction and Bike Lane Extension Project. That's from 8th Street to 14th Street. Intro, Mr. Flory. Welcome again, Scott.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Take a quick look here at the items in the packet. The first sheet there is orange, and that's a project schedule for the East Main Avenue from 8th Street to North 14th Street reconstruction project. And we've got a series of resolutions, 4 of them there that follow. The kind of lime green one there is a resolution for the construction of street, water, sanitary sewer, storm sewer, sidewalk, driveway, and other public improvements. The next pink sheet there is a resolution, again, fixing the lot values for the 2022 East Main Avenue Street Reconstruction Bike Lane Extension Project. I was talking to Nelson a little bit earlier. The lot values, of course, we defer back to what the assessor has on the tax rolls for the lot values there. So the next sheet there, kind of a yellow sheet, is the resolution adopting preliminary plat, schedule of cost estimate, proposed plan specifications for the construction of the 2022 East Main Avenue Street Reconstruction Bike Lane Extension Project, and then the final sheets on that project, the white sheets there, resolution, preliminary resolution of necessity for the project, and that's the one that sets the date for the hearing on the resolution of necessity. So that's, if you look at the bottom, it's page number 10, and that's setting the date for the public hearing on the resolution of necessity for the February 7th City Council meeting, 6 p.m. here in the chambers. So again, that proposed resolution of necessity, February 7th, 6 p.m. here in the chambers. So the yellow sheets after that, another engagement letter. This is with Ehlers and Cooney to serve for special assessment legal purposes for this particular project. So just in the way of some background information on this, of course is the final phase, if you can believe that, of the East Main Avenue Street Reconstruction Project. Recall we've had a couple of phases prior to this. We're just finished here recently the phase between 14th and 20th Street. Noted in the cover memo, that was the construction cost about $2.3 million for that one. The segment that happened a couple of years prior to that from 20th to 24th Street, that was about $1 million construction project there as well. And even years prior to that, we did from 24th Street out east. So complete reconstruction of Main Avenue there on that. But again, you can see the estimate for this portion of this project from 8th to 14th Street, we're looking at just about $2.6 million in cost for this project. So anticipate about 17% of that would be specially assessed against the benefited property owners. So 83% would be funded from sources other than special assessment revenues, 83%. This project, again, is just like the other phases of the East Main Avenue Street Improvement Project. So we're talking about pavement removal, sanitary sewer mains and manholes, water main improvements, storm sewer mains, intakes, and manholes, 7-inch thick PCC paving. Street width is the same, it's 43-foot wide in width. And then driveway improvements, street lighting, and of course, just general miscellaneous work as well. As I mentioned, the special assessments would fund about 17% of the project. So again, of that 2.6 million, we're looking at about, again, 440,000 of that would be specially assessed against the benefit of property owners. And you're well versed on that. By now, the special assessments entail a 31-foot wide, 6-inch thick back curb to back curb street, as well as we've anticipated for the properties that are impacted by this, replacement of water services, water service laterals, as well as sanitary sewer service laterals. So if they don't need to be replaced, then the property owners, of course, are not assessed for those. And I just want to point out again, in terms of the individual assessments, that you've got a copy of that. That plat here this evening is prepared by Jason Petersburg with Beans from Kim. The service laterals are improvements that are very specific, obviously, to those particular properties. So it's not that, you know, if Mark were living on East Main Avenue, I don't use his water service line. I don't use his sanitary sewer service line. So those are costs that are very specific to each individual property. So when you consider the context of the assessment, you know, and how much is being assessed, you know, you're looking at outside of those that are, again, extremely specific to those specific properties. So, in terms of the schedule, as I mentioned, the date for the public hearing on the resolution of necessity is February 7th. The bid letting, this is DOT bid letting. So we have this on the docket for the March 15th DOT bid letting. Last phase we had in February, so we're a little behind here on this one, but hopefully that doesn't translate to any sort of negative bidding. The public hearing and award of contract would then take place at your meeting on March 21st. In terms of the schedule, again, the underground improvements would begin, just like the other phases, after the 4th of July festivities have been completed. And then they would have, the whole project has a completion date of June 2023. So that's for everything, underground and paving. So I don't have anything further in terms of any background or introductory comments. Jason Petersburg's going to review the preliminary plans with you. He's gone over those a couple of times already. As you know, last week we had the affected property owners meeting here at the office, and appreciate Jennifer's work on that, Jason and his team. They had kind of a small turnout, but I think it was productive and effective nonetheless. So Jeremy, of course, was instrumental in that as well. So, you know, we've done what we can to notify people ahead of the public hearing on the resolution of necessity at that February 7th at 6 p.m. meeting. So trying to anticipate questions, comments, and concerns of the property owners and deal with those proactively as effectively as we possibly can. So again, I think it was small but good meeting. So, guess I don't have anything more. Unless anybody has any questions.
While you're there, Jason, you had members of your firm there too as well, didn't you? No, yeah. Good. Any questions for Scott, council?
Yes, just one, Mayor. Scott, just refresh my memory. I think if I'm correct, this 17% figure that ends up being the special assessment, I know that can vary depending on grants and other things on a street project. But am I correct that that's kind of a ballpark that we work with on special assessment? So, you know, if I'm a property owner, I'm not footing 100% of the cost of this thing.
Actually, I think, Jason could correct me off, I think it's exactly the exact same percentage as the last phase.
Is that right?
I think we were 17% on the exact percentage on the last phase. So
yeah, okay, so the 83% obviously is coming from other sources.
83% is funded from other sources. And again, I think then when you, like I keep emphasizing with the fact of some may have their service laterals replaced, some may not.
Right.
You know, so again, we've anticipated that those are probably in marginal condition. So anticipate that they would be replaced, but again, it would be hard pressed to say that you should pay for somebody's individual service line that only serves their home on Main Avenue.
Yeah, exactly. That service lateral is unique to my property
Very
per se
unique
or
to the
somebody's, and so.
And that
Yeah.
again, you're probably
Yeah.
talking about nearly half what the individual assessments would be on just on those service lines.
Sure, sure. Okay, thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate that. Okay, we have a motion here to act on, and that's to approve an engagement agreement with Ehlers and Cooney for the 2022 East Main Avenue Street Reconstruction and Bike Lane Extension Project. Entertain a motion, please.
So move.
Second.
Moved by Gary, seconded by Dana, that we improve the engagement agreement with Ehlers and Cooney. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries 5-0. I think I heard me. All right, now I'll review preliminary plans and specs and preliminary plat and scheduled assessments. Jason Petersburg, B&K. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. You should have received a copy of the preliminary assessment plat and schedule for the 2022 East Main Avenue Street Reconstruction and Bike Lane Extension Project. I'm not going to read through this in detail, just going to hit on some of the highlights here. Page 1.1 describes the improvements that are proposed as part of this project, from pavement removal to sewer and water work, storm sewer work, aggregate surfacing, the driveways, sidewalks, and then the new street, which will be 43 feet wide in concrete, 7-inch thick concrete. Also the street lighting, this phase, all of the new street lights will be on the north side of the road. Due to utility conflicts, the last phase, they were all on the south side of the road. The control panel, or the electrical source for this phase, has already been installed. We installed that as part of the last phase. And then the grubbing of the stumps will also be included in the project as well. Scott mentioned we did have the public information meeting last Thursday. I would agree the conversations we had were productive, but it was a little disappointing that the turnout wasn't the greatest. So moving on, page 4-3, we talk about lot valuations and limits. So by law, the city can only assess up to 25% of the valuation as shown in the assessment schedule. And we've put the valuations of these properties in the assessment schedule. And the valuation is what we received from the county, which is what they're being assessed at for taxes. And then we add the cost of the preliminary assessment. That's the way the code is written. It's up to 25% of the valuation of the property, including the value of the improvements. Moving on, page 5-1 summarizes the costs, the construction costs, as well as the engineering, legal, and administrative. You'll see the majority of the work is street and related work at just over 1.1 million. Total construction cost is $2,240,306.95. You add in the indirect costs, we're at $2,548,406.95. Page 6-1 starts with our breakdown of the assessable costs. Scott mentioned we only assess for a 31-foot wide street. Likewise, the city does not assess for any pavement within the intersections. So of the total 10,000 square yards of paving, the assessable quantity is 5,411.33 square yards. Although the project involves 7-inch thick concrete, the assessments are figured off of 6-inch thick concrete paving. So we figure the total cost per benefit unit at the bottom there, it's $82.28 per benefit unit, which is per front foot for a full depth lot. Looking back at 2020 project, our preliminary was a little less than that, but the final was over, so we're right in the middle of where it was the last project. Moving on, the driveway upgrade assessable costs. There were no projects on this phase that have gravel driveways or driveways that do not meet code, so there are no driveway assessments. The sidewalk improvements, we went through and did a field examination and visually examined all the sidewalks on the project. And any sidewalk that is not up to code, if it's defective in any way with the spalling or offset joints, those became an assessable cost. Any sidewalks that meet city code are not an assessable cost, and those costs are absorbed by the city. So out of the entire length of the project, there's 208 linear feet of defective sidewalk that was identified, and that will be assessed to the benefit of property owners for that. Water services are on the next page. Similar, we looked at all the properties. We assume they all have a defective water service. So every property owner that's served by a water service off of Main Avenue for this stretch did receive a preliminary assessment for the water service, be it 3/4 inch or 1 inch. Page 6.5, likewise for sanitary sewer services. We assume that all the sewer services do not meet code as far as the preliminary assessments go. And I say that the preliminary assessment sets the maximum amount that somebody can be assessed. When it gets to be final, the number can always go down, but by code, by state code, it cannot go up. So we assume they're defective. Once they're dug up, conditions documented, materials documented, and then the final assessments are calculated accordingly. Page 6-6, we included subdrain service improvements, accessible costs. Similar to the last phase, any properties that have a sump pump per city records, we include an 1.5 PVC line to the backside of the sidewalk. If they want to hook up their sump pump to that pipe, they can, and then it won't be discharging out into their lawn. So at the bottom of page 6-6 has the assessed cost summary. Street paving is $258,526, and then all the other items are the direct cost per property, water service per property, sanitary sewer service per property, subdrain service, and then also the sidewalk improvements. Page 6-7 is the overall breakdown as city cost versus the assessed cost. As Scott mentioned, the assessed amount is 17.3%. That the property owners will be assessed for this, the rest of that being a city cost. Look back at the 2020 net assessments, and we were right at 17% on the final assessments for that project there. So very, very similar to the last project. Like I mentioned, that 441,560.42, that is the maximum that the city can assess on this project. As we build these projects, we always find some sewer services that have been replaced and meet code, likewise some water services, and those property owners will not receive a final assessment for those items. So the rest of it includes the detailed assessment schedule as well as the assessment plat itself. I'm not going to read through that in detail if there's any questions on that. Through on it.
Council, any questions for Jason on that?
I was going to mention, Jason, you want to cover the trees a little bit in some detail. I know Jeremy's going to go out and get some bids on removals and
I guess
replanting.
Yeah, Jeremy's going to get some quotes on tree removal, which wouldn't begin until mid-February at the earliest. We have to be complete by March 31st with any tree removal. Any of the property owners we talked to at the public meeting understood the trees had to go. There was comments that they realize the sidewalk's already on their property as it goes around the tree, and they just want the sidewalk back in the city right away. We've offered to people if the city can replace the tree for them on their side of the sidewalk. I actually had some people that said yes, and some people that said, what if I don't want it? So once we bid this project, build this project, we're going to be approaching people as far as putting together a tree replacement plan. However, with the narrow space between the back of the curb and the front of the sidewalk, since it's such a wide street, we're going to try to get all those trees put back on the private side of the sidewalk.
And the tree planting concept that you're working on goes from 8th to 20th. And in some of those areas where the right-of-way is a little bit narrow, we're going to use those chutes that you talked about just to try to get some landscaping back in that right-of-way area.
Either the chutes in areas or putting it on the back side of the sidewalk, either one.
I believe that assessment was done by IDOT arborist, is that correct?
Not DOT,
Not
but
DOT.
a local certified arborist went through and looked at the trees for this
Yeah,
phase.
I saw that report, it was certified arborist, so, and to my count, there was 22,
22 trees.
7 of which were ash. Maybe not quite that many.
Like 5.
5?
I thought it was 5.
5 were ash, 5 were recommended for removal. In addition
Yeah,
to the
okay.
ash, 8 were fair condition and 4 were in good condition,
And
as he rated those.
His estimate was the ash would probably
It's just a matter of
be
time.
gone in 5 years anyway.
Correct.
And Scott helped me, but Jason too, but council as well, but we did very similar on North Shore Drive, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, and
That's similar to what we're looking at, or what we started looking at for this project as well.
Right, and went in and replanted where appropriate trees in there that were not.
More street trees that belong in between the sidewalk and the curb.
That one we, a little bit different because the overhead lines were still there. This one where the lines have been buried, we got a little more
Yeah.
latitude on terms of species.
Right. Any other questions, council, for Jason? Well done, Jason, thank you. Therefore, entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2209, a preliminary resolution for the construction of street, water, sanitary sewer, storm sewer, driveways, sidewalks, and other public improvements. Motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mike, that we approve Resolution 2209. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Mike?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
And Mark?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Resolution 2209 is duly adopted. And now I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2210, a resolution fixing lot values for the 2022 East Main Avenue Street reconstruction and bike lane extension project. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
By Mark, seconded by Gary, that we approve Resolution 2210. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Gary?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
And Mike?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Resolution 2210 is duly adopted. Motion to approve Resolution 2211, a resolution adopting preliminary plat and schedule, estimate of costs, and proposed plans and specs for the construction of Main Avenue Street and utility improvements for the 2022 East Main Avenue Street reconstruction and bike lane extension project. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Gary, seconded by Dana, that we approve Resolution 2211. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Bennett?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And Gary?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Resolution 2211 is duly adopted. And now, the last motion with regard to the East Main Avenue Street reconstruction and bike lane extension project is a Resolution 2212, a resolution of necessity that's proposed, excuse me, for February 7th at 6 p.m. That's 2022, right here in the council chambers, for the 2022 East Main Avenue Street reconstruction and bike lane extension project. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Gary, that we approve Resolution 2212. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Dana?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
And Dana?
Yes.
Excuse me, Bennett.
I knew what you meant.
Motion carries 5-0. Resolution 2212 is duly adopted. Thank you all. Thank you, Jason. Chief, report. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I'd like to direct your attention to that, the last page of your packet. It's the blue sheet. Back there is a letter that we received from the State Division of Criminal Investigation regarding our certification of our crime data. I know that it may not look like much, but this was a year-long project that several individuals from our local county law enforcement partners undertook. And our own Aaron Froning, our communications supervisor, worked on this tirelessly so we could actually report our crime data accurately, effectively, and timely. Had we waited about 2 more months, we would have had 0 crimes in Clear Lake for the year 2020, so it would have been pretty good for us or for our insurance rates, but unfortunately we did have some crime, so we have to report that data. So again, I'm very happy with the work that Aaron did and some of the supervisors to get that data certified and able to convert into our NIBRS-based reporting system. Secondly, we had our 3rd snow, I believe, of the year, of the season. I want to thank the public. It seemed like, at least when I was out and about, that a lot more cars were off the streets. I don't know, I haven't really talked to Public Works yet after the fact, but it seemed like we really only wrote just a couple citations this time around. The streets were a little bit more open. I do appreciate that. These early morning or early business day snows kind of hurt us a little bit because people are at work. We try to notify people out, the night before, saying, hey, plan ahead, move your car if you can. But again, just want to thank the public for that. And then finally, unless there's any questions, we're working on our annual report for the council. Hopefully we'll have that. I'm hoping by the first council meeting in December or February, but if not, it'll be the second one. But that's what we'll be doing here after we've already worked on this crime data stuff, so, or statistics.
Thank you, council. Any questions for Chief? Thanks much, Chief. Appreciate that. Director of Finance Administrative Services report, Creighton Schmidt. Welcome, Creighton.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The first item we'll go over is that handout that I put up there. There's two pieces of equipment. Both of these were included in the amended budget that we had reviewed the expenditures of a couple weeks ago. But just to walk through both of them, these are both for the new wellness center. The first one is a walk behind floor scrubber. So really the purpose of this one is for the hard floor surfaces throughout the wellness center. Much more effective and efficient than using a mop and bucket. So we went with this machine here, and then on the second page, this is an all-surface cleaner. So this one is really dedicated to the locker rooms and the bathrooms throughout the facility, and makes that process much more efficient too. So when you're looking at, I believe we have 6 or 7 shower stalls per locker room using this there. There's like 12 bathroom stalls, so a lot to get clean, and this is a very efficient process. It also allows us to sanitize as we're going through and cleaning it in a more efficient manner. So just have those two items for approval from the council. Questions on those two?
Any questions for Creighton on these? Okay, we need a motion to approve. Council, motion?
Second.
Moved by Minute, seconded by Mark, that we approve the walk behind floor scrubber as well as the all-surface scrubber for the wellness center. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same. Motion carries.
The next item I have is a review of the remainder of our fiscal year 23 budget schedule. The first item we had scheduled here for Friday, January 28th for a review of the revenues and expenditures, also the capital expenditures as well, and the fund balances. Would everyone be okay with changing that date to the Thursday, the 27th? So rather than the Friday, we had a conflict there with the Friday. Does the Thursday at the 27th work for everyone?
8:30.
Yep, same time.
Works for me.
Yeah, works for
Yep,
me.
it's fine.
Good.
I'm okay.
You up that early, Mike?
Thank you, Creighton.
Central Time, he said he's still on.
We'll plan on the 27th then at 8:30 in the morning. And then moving forward from there, well, I'll deliver the printed out budget the week of February 28th, and then we'll have a full review of that on February 21st. At that February 21st meeting, we'll also set the maximum property tax public hearing for March 7th, 2022, and then on March 7th, we'll have that hearing, and then also set the budget adoption hearing for March 21st. And then, of course, on March 21st, we'll hold that final meeting to adopt the budget. Any questions on the calendar?
And that's all listed here nicely. Thanks for doing that. That's going to be handy in the, whatever we call that, salmon color or whatever.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Any questions, council? Thanks, Craig. Under Wellness Center Director, we're scheduled to meet with Adam Long at 6:45. I think it's going to be.
Has left.
It may be tough making that 6:45. But
We'll wrap it up here.
we'll get there. We'll get there. Public Work Director report. Jeremy, welcome, Jeremy.
Council, I can make it real quick so you can hit that 6:45. RCP Investments update. Their crews have been under the weather, so they've been out commission for the past week and a half or so. But we did get notice from them today is that they're hopefully going to be back at it and try and get some of that work done as previously planned. And then update on the 2021 storm sewer and water main improvement. All work's been finished for this winter, but Jason should have a pay estimate prepared for the next council meeting for all the work so far. Other than that, no real other updates. You know, we just had our biggest snow event probably in a year or two, so went pretty smooth. Been out all day today, probably be out all day tomorrow, scraping roads, trying to get all the slush and crud off the roads before we hit our next cold snap. Did have a few breakdowns here and there, but we're kind of assessing those pieces of equipment today and tomorrow, and we'll see where we're at. So before we get anywhere. So other than that,
Well done these past few days. That's any you're saying, you know, tomorrow where it's above freezing, get that off. Otherwise, we'll have people screaming about the chunks being there. They can't.
They were out all day today. Did pretty good. Got it quite a bit. A lot of the main roads, almost all down to pavement. So side roads going to be a little issue. You just don't get enough sun or enough time.
Yeah. We're going back to the deep freeze here.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to drop real quick on Wednesday.
Right.
So.
Right.
Appreciate Jeremy keeping the staff going during the long hours, heart of the storm on some of the mains at least. I think I was reading somewhere in Des Moines they were hoping to have their streets cleared by somewhere like 7 p.m. the next day after the snow. So I mean, I think sometimes we take for granted here the high quality service that our Public Works Department does. Snow removal, it's one of those things that's easy to complain about, but oftentimes that's done by people that probably haven't lived anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, thank you. The guys appreciate it. Yeah, they went, I think Friday they started on their route about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The last two guys got done about 6:30, 7:30 at night. And then we had a couple guys that actually stay at the shop just because they can't get back. And then I think they started up about midnight. Got through all the routes. I think they finished up hauling snow from the uptown area about noon. So there's a lot of snow to haul out. So I think we still have a couple big piles down by laser tag and City Hall here. We got that pile. So we'll probably hit that Wednesday or Thursday. We're more worried about the road conditions right now. So,
Including Jim and Seth in the parks.
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
the cooperation is very, very good, and appreciate that as well. So, Yep, thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Under Mayor's report, first of all, as we all know, today is Martin Luther King Day. As you can remember, very active in the civil rights movement of the 60s. And it's also National Community Service Day for those who wish to volunteer. And this is a town that uses volunteers a lot. So if you haven't done that and willing to do that again, there are a number of people you can contact, including the Chamber of Commerce that always needs volunteers, as well as other public places here in town. Chad, do you want to jump in there and then we'll get Stacy?
Got to do 1 minute. So we had our.
That's why I put
playoff
you in
game
there,
tonight, Chad.
knowing Stacy is right behind.
Yeah, no, got places to be. But no, we had our State of North Iowa event here last week. Appreciate those that were able to attend that. I think we had about 125 folks there. Really nice way to highlight the new Fairfield Inn, and had a chance to ended up talking to Cal Pesci for about an hour. It might have been 2, but I don't want to admit that. After the meeting, just a neat guy, and he had so many nice things to say about this community and how well it's treated him. But very realistic about the challenges they've faced, and again, I just think it's a cool testament to what he's been able to do and the community support to get that done in light of everything in the past 2 years.
I was just going to say, I appreciate your work on that event and your comments. I thought were real good at the meeting. So
Appreciate that. And, our our speaker, Ron Cox from Iowa State, I mean, it could be kind of demoralizing because the statistics we're facing and the demographics, they're not all hunky-dory things that he was telling us about. I mean, just he's very realistic.
I heard more favorable comments about your barrage.
Appreciate that. I had a few people that he beat down pretty good. But it is the reality of the situation. Things are going more urban in general, and it's okay for us to face that and realize that and to fight through that. And I'm really proud of the team that we got in this group here and our partners. We're doing the things that we need to do to get work done. And we really try to hit on housing, the things we're doing on that, the marketing aspect, and of course workforce development. So a lot of good things for our area. We continue to see amazing opportunities in housing. I think between Scott, myself, Jason, and I were just talking, and we've probably got about 5 developers that are looking to do housing things in this town right now. And that is not the case in a lot of communities that, well, hardly any communities this size. But, so a lot of exciting things for us. But I'll cut it off there unless you have questions.
Any questions? Thank you.
Hope those were done last year.
I should have set him up better for that. I think honestly it was in the 10s or 20s, not 5. No, it wasn't bad.
Thanks. Welcome, Stacy.
Tough crowd,
Hi,
Jay.
Council. We are hosting our annual meeting next week on Tuesday. We are doing it in the Wellness Center. So thanks to the Wellness Center team who has been very accommodating and helpful in getting that event planned. So Tuesday at noon, we're going to, reflect on 2021 and look ahead to the future. And we'll also celebrate, many of the accomplishments of our community as well as honor our 2021 award recipients. So if you are able to join, we would love to have you there. We even have a few surprises up our sleeve for the event, so you'll have to come to find out. The other thing I would like to share is we are just a little over a month away from Color the Wind. So Color the Wind is on February 19th. Send good weather vibes, cold but not too cold, warm but not too warm. We need good ice, but we also need some mild temperatures and good wind to get those kites up in the air. But we also can't forget about the tiny little event that squeezed between those two, the Winter Dance Party. So the Winter Dance Party's back. The Surf is doing a great job planning that event the first weekend in February, kicking off with Don McLean on that Thursday night. So it will be a great return to our community to see that event back. So that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Questions, Council? Yep, Don McLean will be back. Did I pronounce that right? I believe. Nobody knows. Thanks, Steve. City Administrator, Scott? Scott?
Just going to mention a couple of things. The 26th, I believe it is, we're going to be meeting with RDG. Jason mentioned the streetlight poles there on Main Avenue. So we've got, I think it was 8 on the south side in that first phase and probably like another 8 here on the north side in the second phase. So going to be meeting with them on the banner project. So several of you are on that invitation list and that committee work group. So going to start going over the concept plans for the banners for East Main next week. Hopefully have something good come out of that and bring it forward to the council for action item on that. Also working on proposals for the demo on South 15th Street for the former county secondary road department buildings there. So got some proposals out with some civil engineering firms on that. So that'll be an item for the next agenda. And then last, Jason and Jeremy and I met with the county here, having some discussions on renewal of the 2080 agreement regarding road maintenance. That's been a number of years since that's been last renegotiated, thinking well over 20 some years on that one. So had some give and take, but I think it was very productive for Jeremy and Jason and I to meet with the county, their engineer, their assistant engineer, and some other staff on that. So we do anticipate having that 2080 agreement coming back here at the next council meeting on that. So I think there's a lot of give and take in some of those agreements, and so I think it's going to be a good agreement for both sides. So that's all I got.
Any questions for Scott, Council? Okay, we'll adjourn to the Wellness Center. You can enter